Welcome to the Explainer. So, today we are putting authority on trial. We've taken a full 2-hour legal deposition of a police sergeant and boiled it down to see what happens when commands, when they're really questioned under oath. And it all kicks off with this one single, really unambiguous threat. So, there it is. That's the sentence that kicks this whole thing off. You've got a police sergeant talking to a citizen, a Mr. Gray, who was literally just holding a sign on a public sidewalk. That one line, caught on a body cam, is what sparked the entire legal fight that we are about to break down. So the big question is, right, what actually gives an officer the right to threaten someone with arrest? Well, they need something called reasonable suspicion. It's basically a solid, concrete reason to think a crime is actually happening. And on the street, at that moment, the sergeant gave exactly one reason to back up his threat. And what was that supposed crime? Vagrancy. Yep. When Mr. Gray asks on camera, hey, why do I need to show you my ID? The sergeant's only answer is that one single word. But here's the thing. What happens on the street is one story. What happens when you're under oath? Well, that's where the sergeant's authority really starts to just completely unravel. Okay, so here's the first, and honestly, it's a huge problem. Vagrancy laws, they're pretty much a thing of the past. And in Mississippi, where this whole thing went down, the state's vagrancy law had been taken off the books a full 5 years before this incident. So the crime he was citing, it literally didn't exist. And this is where you really see the heart of the issue. I mean, it's brilliant. It's not just that the law was gone, that it was defunct. But when he's under oath and he's asked to just, define the crime he was using to justify his actions, he couldn't do it. He couldn't even define the non-existent crime. So, okay, his first reason is completely toast. What happens next? Well, the story changes. All of a sudden, in the official police report and then later in his testimony, this whole new list of possible crimes just appears. These are justifications that were clearly made up after the fact. So now the official story isn't about vagrancy anymore. Nope. It's become this moving target of different accusations. Now it's harassment, then it's stalking, then peddling, panhandling, disorderly conduct. And you can bet that for every single new claim, the lawyer was right there with more questions. And with every single one of these new allegations, the exact same pattern started to show. Could he explain the legal definition of harassment? Nope. Could he name even one person who is supposedly being stalked? He couldn't. And what about peddling? You guessed it, drew a total blank again. Now, this next quote, it's from the sergeant's own body cam. And honestly, it might just be the most revealing moment in this entire thing. The citizen, Mr. Gray, tries to explain his First Amendment rights, and this is the response he gets. It gives you such a powerful glimpse into the mindset we're dealing with here. So at this point, the questioning gets a little broader. I mean, if the sergeant can't explain the specific laws he claims he's enforcing, then what about his general training? What about the fundamental policies of his own department? Or, even the basics of constitutional law. And time after time, for 2 straight hours of testimony, the most common answer was just an inability to remember. The phrase, "I don't recall," it basically became his go-to response for almost every critical question about his professional duties. And the list of things he supposedly forgot, it is truly staggering. We're talking under oath, he couldn't recall his training on the First Amendment or the Fourth Amendment. He couldn't remember his own department's policies for body cams or for how to interact with the public. He even claimed he couldn't remember why he ordered Mr. Gray to leave public property to begin with. And this next exchange, honestly, this is the moment where the entire foundation of his authority just crumbles. The lawyer asks him, "How can you perform your job as a sergeant if you don't know the policy?" And his answer, under oath, is, "I don't know. You tell me." So, here's the bottom line. After 2 full hours of questioning, the total number of laws, official department policies, or even specific training protocols the sergeant could point to justify what he did, it was zero. A big, fat zero. Not a single one. And that leaves us with one last and really vital question. You see, this whole deposition, it isn't just about one sergeant on one particular sidewalk. It forces all of us to ask a much bigger question. When an officer, someone in a position of incredible power, can't even articulate the law they're supposed to be enforcing, are they actually enforcing the law? Or are they just enforcing their own will?